What are your initial comments on Operation Sindhu that has been concluded by Government of India?
It has not been concluded by Government of India.
No, I thought it has been concluded.
No,
So you are saying it has been suspended.
it has been, let's say it has been put on hold, and it's an ongoing operation because the Government of India is maintaining vigil on the borders or in the areas where we have borders with Pakistan.
So, do you think this operation has been a complete success?
A thumping victory.
And what message would you give to Asim Munir, the rogue general of Pakistani army?
No, he is not a rogue general. He is the perfect example for how failed a state Pakistan could be. I mean, a general going gung ho in a conclave full of NRI Pakistanis, shouting that "Ji Kashmir to hamari Shah Rag hai," and when the time comes for facing consequences, this man is completely out of limelight, not to be seen anywhere. God knows what he was up to.
Do you think he was afraid of Prime Minister Modi?
Obviously, he was afraid of Prime Minister Modi. See, but in international politics, this is not how emotions run. Or this is not how politics or warfare is conducted. He he must be smart enough to understand that his armies can never stand a chance with Indian armed forces. Specifically, with the kind of modernization that we have slowly taken up to.
So,
Pakistan is a terrorist haven. It's a failed state. It's a state where
and a rogue nation.
you cannot say a rogue nation. I mean, they wanted a nation on the basis of a certain idea, on the basis of certain ideology, on the basis of certain religion. They got their wishes. But then, because those people never understood how nations work, or how nations function, or how nations are constructed, it has ultimately led to their downfall, and they are going to die with thousand cuts. And that too, I can assure you, with increasing time and with increasing technology becoming a part of global warfare or a part of daily life of common people, you will find that the Pakistani nation will
Collapse.
not collapse, will start disintegrating progressively. Now, these are two different terms. Being progressive, and that too in terms of disintegrating. But this will happen with Pakistan because they are not at all concerned with any technological progress, or they are not at all keen in implementing a vision that can take them further in terms of providing public services to their community. No, the word "com" is only used there for inciting hatred against India, and this is what is costing them. I mean, in our CBSE books, we used to read that they were relatively better than us up until 1960, 65. But what happened after 65? Bangladesh
So,
was created, and then they became sort of obsessed with plotting and planning the downfall of India. That did not happen, and that was nonetheless not going to happen.
how can India
Ultimately, it ended up consuming them only.
how can India contribute more in deterioration of Pakistan as a nation?
India has to safeguard its own interest. India has to be more assertive in claiming their own identity, stating the obvious, and rest everything will be done by Pakistan itself. They they are not at all keen to maintain a state that has a thriving ethos of modernism. the divide between the common people and the elite class is ever more so glaring that you can understand that how regimented a society Pakistan must be. That the prime minister, from the prime minister to every stakeholder in the Pakistan salient establishment, they are openly lying, and still you do not see any resistance in terms of uh, calling out those lies.
So can you point at one lie that they have spoken?
All we find is support of a jingoistic fervor that has ultimately put them in sort of a danger of becoming redundant.
So where do you see Pakistan in 2050 when India will be a superpower?
India is a superpower. See, these words are no longer relevant. How do you define a superpower? A country which does not submit to the pushes and pulls of an aggressor is a superpower. For me, Vietnam was a superpower.
In what sense? They
In
did
the
not have that kind of production,
They did not
development.
Have that, no, they did not have that kind
Their
of production
GDP
and
was low.
development. Their GDP was low. They were reeling under pressure. They had been bombarded
And they were
by the
facing
Americans.
famines also.
But nonetheless, they were able to safeguard their nation. They have been able to maintain their quality. They have been able to successfully take out that nation from the vagaries of a bloody war. On the other hand, a designated, well accepted superpower could not conquer the Vietnamese people. And what was the economic incentive for fighting that war?
Emergence of communism in Southeast Asia.
Communism was already a flourishing political.
No, they were trying to
ideology.
stop it,
It was never an issue. Americans,
but they made it an issue.
Americans like to create an enemy that does not exist.
Okay, now you have taken the name of America. So you must have seen the double standards that America has shown during the ongoing operation by Indian Armed Forces. What will you say on that?
They were never our traditional allies, and America has always stood for its own interest. Americans were always a nation that put their interest first. They are neither in favor of Pakistan. They will never be in favor of India. They will always be in favor of a deal that can be struck where America has to gain something out.
So how can we resist America in such situations? Because we were hopeful that America would be supporting us,
No,
but it turned out to be completely.
We were never hopeful. Now, this is not a in terms of stricter terminology being used. This is not a bipolar world anymore, where there are two powers running the show. This is a multipolar world. There are several groups.
But still, we seek help from America in certain situations. Why are we dependent?
Everybody looks up to America because theirs is a very theirs is a thriving economy in terms of collective figures, in terms of GDP, in terms of purchasing power. Their money has been the international currency. They are a military superpower. They have the technology, and they have been people who have constantly taken interest in regulating the global issues by choosing sides, taking sides, intervening in places where they actually didn't have any stake. They called themselves the global world.
They have openly accepted the fact that they changed regime of many countries, and they always make such people come in power who are in their favor. So what would you say on the situations that were prevailing in Bangladesh a few months ago?
Yes, legacy of Biden.
And now Bangladesh is also making comments that we are.
Legacy of Biden administration.
Then how is Trump different from Biden if Trump is also continuing on the same policy?
No. See, Trump
is not a politician in the stricter sense.
Then what is he?
He is a guy who was never a career politician, a seasoned one. He has certain limited ideas, certain limited ways of running the government. He does not seek a future in leading a party. He does not see his future with the Republicans in the same way Obama would see his future with the Democratic Party. Trump is unhinged. For me, Trump is a wild card. All you have to do is to keep them at a safe distance and then do what's best for your own interest. Because here also in this case during Operation Sindhu, people are saying that it was a failure of India's foreign policy that nobody stood by our side. I don't say that. I mean, if somebody does not openly support the enemy, that also counts as my victory. Now, who were the people who openly took sides? Turkey,
So what were we doing on that?
Kazakhstan, or
Kazakhstan was not a party to
No.
this situation.
no? Which two countries have been
Azerbaijan and
Azerbaijan and
Turkey, they all have been boycotted.
Yes, they have been boycotted. See, theirs is a religious agenda. They support Pakistan because it's in their policy that Pakistan seems to be their traditional ally. Now, I cannot say that just because these two countries stood in favor of Pakistan, we didn't have anybody in our field.
No, Russia was the only country which supported us openly.
Russia openly supported us. America, being America, did what they are best at doing, and that is, if I'm not with you, at least I'm not against you, because they have been known to covertly support people and project otherwise. So, if we were able to do what we had set out to achieve in Operation Sindhu, which is to destroy all the terrorist institutions and establishments, even if they were mosques, it does not matter. We were successful in achieving our target, and this is the yardstick against which anything should be understood or judged.
How do you see the press briefings that were conducted by Indian Armed Forces?
I think
And what about the
the people who
press briefings by
the DGMO's briefing should have been there from the start. But then it's better that an army person comes into the picture only after certain parts of the missions or the whole mission is concluded. But
what about the airstrike? Do you think India struck air bases of Pakistani Air Force?
successfully,
But they were asking for evidences.
everybody will ask for evidence. Whosoever wants to spread disinformation and wants to support one's cause by taking misinformation into account, they will use this psychop. People become part of it because now everybody has an access to a social media platform where even after not being
So how was your
they have an opinion, and this is how all these psychological warfares are conducted.
So when the operation was going on, I had seen you completely on social media platforms.
Yes,
You
I
were
was heavily relying on Twitter
yes.
because see what happened.
And you had seen a lot of videos emerging after the strikes, and some were very funny because people were coming out and they were telling what actually happened with them in Pakistan. But
I
yet
mean, you
Pakistani
you
Air
cannot
Force.
miss those unmatchable words. Allah, you cannot miss those tonalities. You cannot miss those Pakistani sensibilities. that
Then
are
why
there in
was
every video.
then why was Pakistani government denying all the strikes that
See what happened.
had been done by
There
India?
are people that depend on Uh,
Do you think they peddle lie?
yes, they are a nation built on life.
They don't have their
They are a
own
nation of
history.
liars. Their executive government or their civilian establishment is a complete failure. I mean, every speech that the Prime Minister of Pakistan gives, he starts by addressing Mr. General Asim Munir. Why would a civilian executive government address the army general first?
Because Prime Minister is the personal peon of the Pakistani army chief.
But you see that army also itself is disintegrated. The army also
How
has
do you how do
factions.
you know that there is no coordination between the subordinate
There,
lieutenant generals and general?
there is a broad coordination in terms of conducting warfare, conducting
What would you say on
these
ceasefire violations
uh,
after the?
consider I mean, considering the kind of enemy that they consider India to be, they have a broad consensus among themselves that yes, this is a non-negotiable issue. We have to be united and concerted in our efforts if it concerns India, but even their army is regimented fractured.
Why do you say so?
During
Do
Kargil,
you, do you have
during
any?
Kargil it was not the central command that
How
was
will you substantiate your statement?
everybody who has followed Kargil war knows that what happened in Kargil was the brainchild of Pervez Musharraf and three or four
Subordinate generals,
subordinate
lieutenant general,
lieutenant generals who were commanding their theaters in that area.
along the borderline.
Yes, along the LOC. So this was not the whole army.
So why did they
At
not
least
seize him?
in a population of 24 crore people, you expect a scintilla of decency, civility, and common sense prevailing among at least 1% of the common population and at least 0.5% elites.
People of Pakistan were in support of the skirmish that had been taking place on the LOC.
On the basis of lies that are being peddled to them,
No, they always support, no matter what
they will
happens.
support. Every government, or every population will ideally support their country, or else there remains no nation, no state, no country.
Okay, thank you
But
for your words.
what happens is, let there be truth prevailing in terms of information being disseminated to the common population, and then let's see what is the general outlook of the public. तब फर्क पड़ेगा.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.